All right, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Athlete Podcast. Hope you're doing well and thriving and surviving out there during all this craziness. But today I have a very special guest, someone that you probably already know. Today on the show with us is Sophie Cunningham. Sophie, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. I'm actually super excited about this one.
Yeah, no, thanks for being on the show today. And life is kind of different right now. So for everyone that kind of already knows you and your story and everything, I guess what does life look like for you right now, and how are things going?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. We're living in a crazy time. But I am trying to embrace it, trying to look at it in a positive light. But I actually just got back from Australia about 3 weeks ago, and so we got back in the States like 2 days before they cut it off. So like we got back just in time. And so right now I'm actually supposed to be like training for the WNBA, getting up shots, lifting weights, all this stuff. But everything is closed, and I do not have a home gym or a home basketball court like a lot of my teammates. And so I am out, running on Sinclair and South Providence. And that's kind of what my daily life looks like is, just trying to run and do a couple ball handling drills. But I'm just kind of stuck right now. But I'm enjoying it. I'm embracing. I get more time with my family. So I'm trying to live it up a little bit.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. You get to be stuck at home, I guess. What would have happened if you were stuck in Australia? I mean, I guess you just would have like been quarantined there, I guess. Like,
I guess. I don't know because they're not letting like anyone back right now anymore. And I guess right now in Australia, I was talking to some of my teammates, and everything's shut down there too right now. So I guess we could have been hanging out at the beach, or I don't know, but I guess it could have been a little better, but nothing
yeah.
crazy over there. So
Man, that's crazy. Well, I guess what would you say being an athlete, and what would you say for other people that are listening, maybe whether they're an athlete or not? I guess what's your best advice for all this? Because we do have a lot of downtime right now, and for people like
yeah.
us, or you're so busy, you have all these things going on. Like, I guess what's your best advice for someone who maybe if they're a high school athlete or they're a business owner, just to maximize the time that they have right now? What would be your advice to them?
Yeah, I think this is a perfect time for people to slow down and actually do stuff that they enjoy doing. I know with our family, we're always like, well, if we had more time, we could have, blah, blah, blah. And so right now, I think if you're an athlete, this is a perfect time to work on eating better. I was a terrible eater. I'm getting better now as a professional, but through high school and through college, I wasn't great. But like this is a good time to focus on the little things. And uh, even if you are an athlete and you're worried about not getting in exercise and all that stuff, take this time to spend with your family. Like take this time to reflect on yourself. Take this time to maybe write down some goals of what you want to get done this year in 2020. 2020 has started off really rough for a lot of people, especially in the sports world with Kobe. But
Yeah.
you just gotta, you gotta write down some goals that you want to try to be successful in this second half of 2020. And so I think there's a lot of things you can do. Read a book, like I said, spend time with your family. I think that is so underrated. And so
Yeah.
just do the little things.
Yeah, this is literally causing everyone to like stay home with their family. So hopefully that's going
Yeah.
to be a positive thing
Yeah.
for most people. And yeah, on the Kobe note, you had the chance, I think, to meet him earlier this year. He was with the team. I guess what was
Yeah.
that like? And then I guess hearing the news a few months ago, what was that like to hear from your perspective?
Yeah, so I was blessed enough to be able to meet him just once, and we were about to head into practice, and they're like, "Everyone, go to the locker room. We have a special guest." And for us not to go to practice on time, it's kind of a big deal. And so I was like, "Well, who is it gonna be?" Like not even expecting Kobe. Like that's like a whole nother level
Right.
of like famous. You know what I mean? And so he actually walked in with the Mamacitas. So we actually got to meet Gigi. We got to meet the rest of those girls who unfortunately lost their lives, but we also got to meet the rest of the whole team too. So
Wow.
super cool experience, so surreal. And he was awesome. He was actually a really awesome guy. I heard that he was like less cocky after he was done playing. And so it was kind of cool to see, the after basketball life of Kobe and get to meet that. But when I woke up to it, because in Australia, our time difference is totally
Oh,
opposite. And so
yeah.
it happened and we just had woken up, and um, I thought like I couldn't believe it. And sometimes I still can't believe it, but
Yeah.
he also was a huge advocate for women's basketball. And I think that's really what he was trying to work on after, his career. And so it kind of sucks for female athlete at my level to lose someone who's advocating so much for us.
Yeah, and I think it's similar to this whole coronavirus thing. It makes almost everyone just pause and like reflect and be like, surely not Kobe, or like surely not the whole world shut down right now because of this thing. It just really, I think, makes you kind of reflect. And I think that's crazy, especially from your perspective, being a professional athlete. Like that has to definitely hit home.
Yeah, it does for sure. And I mean, I think not so much the women's side, but a lot of those guys, they think they're invincible. They're making millions. They have everything you could possibly want. Um, but I mean, at the end of the day, like you're not invincible, so you have to make an impact right now, and try to give back. In my perspective, try to give back to as many people as you can, because you never know.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, and I honestly, I guess I should probably watch a little bit more women's basketball, but I didn't know I didn't know until I saw you earlier this year that I think we were at a tailgate or a Mizzou football game, and you were telling me how like most women play year round, so you're on two different teams. So talk for people that don't know, that were like me and that didn't know. I should have. Now I do, and now I watch a lot of basketball. But I guess, what is that like to have two different teams, all different teammates? Like, and can you just explain that for the average person that maybe doesn't know that, oh, that's a reality of women's basketball?
yeah. So I will break it down for you. So from April 25th to around October 1st, that is when the WNBA season goes. So pretty much during your whole summer. And it is your whole summer. And so if you're not one of the top players, you're not making very much money. Like you're just not. That's just reality for women basketball players. So we have to go overseas. So we make all of our money in like Russia, Spain, pretty much anywhere in China, really good money, but you can really go anywhere you want. So I went to Australia for my first year in the off season, just because it was really Americanized. The money wasn't bad, but it wasn't great. But it was just livable, and like they spoke English, so it's just a good first year option for me. But we have to be on two different teams. You can't live in America the full year. And for a lot of people, they're like, oh yeah, that sounds amazing. Like you get to travel, and it is awesome, and it is amazing. You do get to travel, but like it's hard living in a foreign country for 5.5 months, especially if you're talking, China and Russia. Like those are pretty hard places to live. I mean, Turkey offers really good money, but a lot of my teammates who went there last year, they could hear bombs going off next to their hotel. So it's like you have to go to these places that aren't necessarily safe for Americans, but we make a really, really good money over there, so you can't pass it up.
Wow. So that's cool. So literally year-round basketball, different teammates. I guess, what are the different Like, is there a difference in style of play, or like,
Oh
is
my
there
gosh,
a lot of
yes.
adjustments there? What's that like?
Yeah. Well, it's always hard too going into a new program, trying to learn their system, trying to know their style, what their expectations of you are, from their coaches and other teammates. So it is hard. Like you're going into a new program every year, so you can never just get settled in and know the system and dominate the system,
Right.
unless you're, a vet because you've been through it. But over in Australia, they're just super fundamental. Like here, we're more about athleticism. I would say that there's some people who could shoot, but not. I mean, if you're athletic, most likely you can just get to the rim, honestly. And so over there, like everyone can shoot, everyone can get to the rim. They have great ball handles, great passes, like super good IQ. So like it helped my game a lot, because that's more my game, because I'm not the most athletic in the WNBA, never
Yeah.
have been. And so I think I fit that style better, but it was really fun, and it was actually really, really competitive and hard because they are so fundamental.
That's awesome. And I just want to hit on the topic of like transition for a second. So going from, you were a star in college, and then now you're having a lot of success in WNBA and really in both leagues that you play in. And so for the person maybe who's entering a new phase of life, and even honestly with this COVID right now, like there's a lot of people who are losing jobs. There's a lot of people who don't know, like a lot of these athletes can't even play, their season's canceled. Obviously everyone's experiencing that. You went from college to then the pros. What's that transition been like, and what are some maybe skills or tips you would give someone who's going through transition on how to make the most of that? Because I'm sure there has to be times where it was hard or it was
Oh my
challenging.
God.
Yeah. Can you
Yeah.
can you break that down?
Yeah, so I'll just be really honest and vulnerable that everyone's like, oh, you got to the WNBA, it had to be awesome. last year was literally like the worst year, like the hardest year that I've ever had to go through in sport wise. And so, yeah, you go from being the star and knowing the system and knowing how to dominate, and then you go to a system where, especially in Phoenix, the Phoenix Mercury is who I play for, and um, they don't like rookies. Like they don't draft rookies, and so for us to even get in and to stay on the team and then actually get in the game was like a huge deal, because they like all my teammates are um,
Veterans, right?
yeah, they average around 34 years old.
Wow.
Like that,
That's
it's crazy, isn't it?
right.
And
That's awesome. Like
and
crazy.
also a little fun fact is a lot of people have their best year when they're 29 years old. So
And
it's
you're
like,
you're already going in and balling at your age, so that means only
well,
positive things for the future. So
well, I don't know about that, but I do like I had some good games, but then
yeah.
they like their vets. So it's like you go in and you play well, and the next game you only get in for like 10 seconds. So it's a mind game, and so it's hard. And I think down there, like I'm not like I'm a pretty bubbly person. I love people. I love to talk to people. But down there, I really think I got like in a huge slump of like, I don't know if it was depression. I don't know what it was, but like I was not myself, just because it's not because I wasn't the leading scorer. It wasn't because any of that, because I had really good teammates. Um, but it's just a hard transition, and you can't describe it. You have to have a good small circle that you can rely on, and I had to do that quite a bit. And then moving to Australia, that really helped me, just because I got to play free. I got to finally play how I know how to play, and so hoping to bring that back to the WNBA. But it is a tough position. But I will say, if you are going through something like that, and I couldn't even imagine, especially for a lot of the seniors who, um, and honestly, the freshmen, it's your first time in high school, it's your first year in college, like you're looking
Right.
to do something great to make your mark. And so I will say that it gets better. This is a tough time for everyone. And I know it could be, bring a lot of anxiety, especially if you are a senior and, you were using this year to really make your mark so you can maybe play in the future. But better times are ahead of us, and you just have to be the positive light. You have to, um, get a good group a small circle that you can rely on and talk to, because it's not always great to hold things in. And so I do think there's better times ahead of us. I think this is a huge blessing in disguise. I know that a lot of people are sick and there's been some deaths, but I will say for the most part, a lot of us are healthy, and we're blessed to be where we're at right now. So you just kind of have to use whatever platform you're on or where you're at in life, and try to be a positive light to others. So
Oh, I love that. Thanks for sharing that. And you mentioned, and
yeah,
yeah, that's a good reminder. Like this isn't forever. Like
no.
this will pass at some point. And I think we forget that because we look at the stock market or we look at people losing jobs or sports. We don't have sports. Like
Hmm.
it's weird. It's a weird time, but yeah, this isn't forever. So that's a good
Yeah. And
encouragement.
I will also add that it's like a lot of people, this is like a really tough time. They have lost their jobs. They're trying to find money for the next meal. So I think it's also a great time for us to not don't hang out with people. I'm not saying that, but like offer a hand. Like make sure if you need to go to the grocery store for someone, just do it. That extra $45, it could probably come around and look like a different blessing in the future. But I think this is a really great time to, help your neighbor out, and just try to help people who really need it during this tough time.
That's
So
a really, really cool encouragement. And you mentioned having like a close circle, and your sister Lindsay, who is super awesome.
yeah.
You guys are super tight and super close, and so it's fun to like watch your travels on social media and things like that. But yeah, she's awesome. I guess what has that relationship been like that you guys have been able to share? Obviously, she's been basketball too. You guys are able to just kind of interact and be with each other during all of this. How valuable has that relationship been for you?
Oh my gosh, she has saved me. She has been my rock. She's my biggest inspiration. I've always wanted to be like her. And so for her to go on this, we've always kind of planned for her to come on my first year wherever I went. Um, but she did have a job at TSF. And so for her to kind of quit and come with me was kind of a big deal. And so she's just been awesome. I think a lot of people they don't have that relationship with their sibling, but they might have it with a friend or best friend. And so she is my best friend. And so for her to come and travel the world with me, to move down to Phoenix, then Australia, especially through this first year of basketball, how it hasn't been easy. It's been a huge blessing for me to, have her right there. So
No, that's
it's been
awesome.
great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds great. And so just a quick, just want to go back to high school for a second. So you're the type of person that just kind of goes for it in life. And so
Yeah.
I wasn't around for this, but just from everything that I've heard and Aaron told me, people have told me is that, so in high school, there was a stint of time where you were on the football team.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that and what like inspired you to do that?
Absolutely. So I never had like any aspirations to go play football ever, and so, but I did play soccer growing up, and I was supposed to play in high school, but with my commitment to Mizzou, I mean, that's the biggest risk of ACL tear. So there's like, just probably not do that. But they let me play football, so it's kind of weird.
Makes
But
sense. Yeah.
yeah, right, complete sense. But so during our halftime, we were playing our rival school, Hickman, and so they drew a girl from their fan base, and then they drew me to kick a field goal during like um, it wasn't halftime, but just like a timeout, a short timeout. And
Yeah.
so she went out there, and actually I went to kindergarten with her. She was one of my best friends growing up, so it's so weird. And she actually went up there and she missed. And so I was like, well, shoot, like I have to make it. But at the time, I also had a stress fracture and I was in a boot. So I kicked off my boot and I had to borrow Sierra Porter's basketball shoe. And so that's what I kicked in. And I went out there and I was like, just kick it hard, because I've never kicked a football like that. And went out there and I actually made like a 45-yard field goal. And so it was pretty fun. It was a pretty cool experience. And then unfortunately, the next weekend, our kicker blew out his knee. Also one of my good friends. And so they just knew my personality. They kind of knew my confidence, my go for it mentality, and semi athletic. And so they asked me to be a kicker on their team, and I was like heck yeah, like I'm going for it. Like how awesome is this? And so kicked a few field goals. I got tackled once. Still have the scar from it, but I just thought it was so fun. That was seriously probably one of my favorite sport memories that I've ever been through. So
That's amazing. Wow. No, that's really cool. And I guess when you, as a player now, and even in college, like the games that I was able to watch you and Lindsay play at, you just play with like a certain kind of tenacity to you, and like you have like an edge. Has that always been you? Or did you develop that? How did you kind of get that? I guess swag maybe is a good word, that you kind of carry yourself on the court. Yeah. Where did that come from?
Honestly, I don't know. I think I've just always I was born with it. And if you look at my grandma and then you look at my mom and then you look at me, like it definitely trickles down the gene pool. So I'm lucky I have it. I'm blessed to have it. Sometimes it gets me in a little bit of trouble, but for the most part, it's real great to have. But I also think that it's okay. I've always had great female models in my life to tell me that it's okay to act like that. Like it's okay to sweat, it's okay to work hard, it's okay to be competitive and kind of have that fierce mentality. Because I think a lot of people or a lot of young girls, they don't have that in their life, and so they think that's only for guys. Like I have to be the girl, I have to look cute, I can't sweat, like all that stuff. I'm like, no girl, like it's completely opposite. And so I think that it's real good for maybe your younger female listeners to it's okay to sweat, it's okay to work hard, it's okay to be more competitive than the guys. Like don't let that hold you back, because that could be your best blessing in disguise is your competitiveness. So I think it's okay for girls to do that.
That's an awesome encouragement. And even like on game days, like what you wear. So like John Stockton is someone like that. For me, not being like a huge like massive basketball fan, he's the only person that I know of that like kind of rolls up his shorts. Mm-hmm. You do the same thing when you play. And then now, like when I watch random high school basketball games, like little girls in Missouri are doing that because of you. Yeah. So like, where did that start, and what was the thought behind that? And like, yeah, I guess what was the thought with that?
Yeah. Well, I never meant to do that because I never did that in high school. But freshman year of college, I pulled my groin and hamstring. And so they gave me these special compression shorts that are super tight, but they were super short. And like when I work out, like I sweat. And so I hated how my shorts felt on my legs and like how they would ride up. And so I'm like, okay, like I can't be doing that anymore. And so I just kind of tucked it in. And because our shorts are pretty long, like if our shorts were shorter, I wouldn't do it. But our shorts are like what the guys wear. So too long. And so I just naturally kind of tucked them up and I'm like, ooh, like I kind of like this. And then after I got injured and I started doing that, it just kind of stuck. And I get like, oh, you look like you're wearing a diaper. Like I get all these negative comments. I'm like, you know what? I do not care what you guys think. This feels good for me. And so I'm doing it. But it is kind of funny, like seeing girls start doing it. I'm like, oh gosh, it does kind of not look too great, but like you go rock it, but whatever.
That's awesome. And your faith, plays a big role in your life. And so how, you have a great platform now to make a huge impact on people's lives. And so I guess, how do you try to leverage your platform to make a difference in your faith? And then also for someone maybe that's not a professional basketball player, how would you encourage them to use the platform that they have in their life?
Yeah. I have been blessed with a great community in here in Columbia, and I couldn't have done what I did and made the impact I did if I didn't have them around me in college. And so now I think it's just time for me to give back. And I think my faith has been such a huge part of who I am, how I was raised. I really had great teammates in college here at Mizzou to push me in my faith, and so I was really blessed to have that. But now I just want to be a light for people. Just if they need a laugh, if they need a smile, if they need encouragement, I really just use my faith. And I don't know, I try not to be pushy on social media, but I do like to share what I'm going through and how I got through things. And so I do rely a lot on that. And I think if I did not have good faith at this first year, probably would have broke me, along if I didn't have my sister to be there to encourage me. And so it's just a huge part of who I am. And actually, the more that I put it out there, I do get really great feedback. And so it does feel good to know that what I'm doing is making an impact for a young girl or a young boy. And so I've gotten good feedback. And even if I didn't, I'd still do it because it is
Yeah.
important to me. But I think even if you're not a professional athlete, um, it's just really refreshing to be around those people who have a positive outlook on life, who are a good friend, who are willing to do the right thing, even if it's hard. And just to kind of like to like relax. Like I'm such a go with the flow person, with a little bit of feistiness on the edge of it. But like it's just so refreshing to be around those people who are just, relaxed and they're not uptight all the time, and to reassure people that it's gonna be okay. And so I just try to be that. I have a lot of those people in my life and I look up to them. And so I'm just trying to, spread that for people who might not get that at home or at school. And so that's just kind of what I try to do.
That's awesome. It's been really cool to watch you and Lindsay just use your gifts to glorify God through all the things that you've been through. So it's been really cool to watch for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. What would you say for like maybe a little girl that would say, "Oh, I want to be Sophie Cunningham someday." What would be your message to that little girl that maybe looks up to you in that way?
Yeah. I still think that's so surreal because like all my friends are like, Sophie is so dorky and just like the goofiest. I'm just like, I don't know why people want to be me, but um, I just think it's maybe because a lot of young females. I'm just saying this because I didn't have this really, except for like Lindsay, my mom, and my aunt, my grandma. But I just think I have always outworked my opponents, and like I've always outworked my teammates in practice. And so I think my biggest message to young girls and even young boys is like just be the hardest worker. Go out there, work hard. Don't ever relax in practice. Just go be extra. Do 110%. And so I always say be the hardest worker, but I also always say to have a smile on your face because you've put in the work, you've worked hard. So when it's time for like game time or whatever you do, whatever your niche is, to also go out there and smile and laugh and enjoy what you do, because it's no fun if you go put in the hard work and you're stressed out and can't have fun with what you're doing. And so I think that's always been the message for me and my sister, from my mom and dad, is be the hardest worker, but also smile, have fun, and enjoy what you're doing. So that's what I kind of say.
That's a great message, and I think you can apply that to anything, not just sports. So yeah, that's all.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. Like you can, if your passion is music, go outwork people in music. If it's dance, if it's math, like whatever it is, just be the hardest worker in it and make sure you're enjoying what you're doing. Whatever your niche is, just go have fun with it.
Absolutely.
So,
And
pretty simple.
yeah, absolutely. Last question. I ask everyone this that's on the show. At the end of your life, this is kind of a tough question. At the end of your life, what do you want people to say about Sophie Cunningham?
That is such a tough question because, I mean, that's your legacy. And so I've never really thought about a legacy. I've just always tried to do me, and be me. And so, um, if I had to answer it, I would want people to, say that she was one of the most competitive and the most fierce players they've ever watched. But off the court, she was friendly, she was nice, she loved to have fun, and I think it's okay to, whatever your passion is, go be competitive, go work hard, have that competitiveness, have that edge to you. But after you're done, like, be a friend, be a good neighbor, and I think that's just what I would want my legacy to be, is that I was never too good for anyone, and I gave my time to give back to the community. So that's what it'd be.
That's so cool. Well, thank you so much for being here today. And yeah, we're going to continue to watch all the success that you have in the future. And hopefully once this virus is over, you get back to balling and doing your thing. So
Yeah.
thanks so much for being here today and joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks.